I walked around the campus thoroughly unimpressed. I was down in Bristol, which is probably one of the nicest cities in the UK, to see where I'd be spending the next 3 years of my life. Now Bristol's got 2 universities, and one of these is great. The other one, as I was finding out, is not. The campus was horrible, and it was miles away from anything. The school though did have a pretty good geography programme, so I was quite happy to accept the offer they gave me. Now, I wasn't expecting the best grades in high school, so I had applied to some fairly poor universities. When my grades came back much higher than either me or my parents had been expecting, my ego went up a little bit, if I'm honest, and I thought I was a bit too good for this school. So in my mind, my best choice was to reject the offer they'd given me and to defer my entry another year and reapply to some better universities. This was, though, a pretty risky choice. Firstly, geography is one of the most employable subjects in the UK. It's a fairly boring subject, but it's one of the most employable. The next issue was, although my grades were good, they weren't great. So I could find myself with no place at all. And lastly, just what would I do with the year in between school and university? Despite all these issues, I decided that I was going to defer. I applied to 3 really good schools and 2 safer options. The safer options, though, were better than my original choice. And this worked out really well for me because almost immediately I was offered a place at my first choice university. So the only problem left was what would I do for the 14 months until term started. All my friends had moved away, they were now all at uni. They were having a great time without me, and they seemed to be messaging me every single day telling me how great it was. I didn't really enjoy this period, if I'm honest, because they were away and I was living at home still with my parents and working 3 jobs, while they seemed to be living in some kind of American Pie film. Originally, for this 14 months, I just wanted to go travelling. And being fairly spoiled as a child, I just assumed that my dad would give me the money. This was a bad idea because he said no. And I had to find myself all the cash. So I was working 3 jobs. I was working as a waiter in the mornings, I was working as a gardener in the afternoons, and a barman in the evenings. Quickly quit the waiting job though because they changed the rules and I could no longer get tips. And I found myself working in a t-shirt printing factory. Factory is a loose term here because it was actually a freight container in the back of the boss's house. And I was the only one here who even spoke English. So I would sit there all day listening to Polish radio while I was unpacking Anchorman slogans to be printed on the Sex Panther and I Love Lamp t-shirts. These were the 2 big sellers. Although it wasn't the best job, I did make all the money I needed. And after New Year's, I packed up my backpack. It wasn't this exact backpack, but it was close, it was the same size, and I got on my way. I lived out of this for the next 7 months. I started my travels in Peru, which was kind of a long shot because I had never been further than London on my own before. But it was great. I ended up going through 11 countries. I got a little bit fat. I grew my hair down past my shoulders and I drank way too much. I had experiences that I'll remember forever, and despite some bad periods, it was one of the best years of my life. My risk of deferring my entry and letting my friends go away and while I worked crappy jobs turned out to be one of the best decisions I'd ever made.